Hello there people, Vestin here with an Awesomenauts match featuring Voltar the Omniscient. Voltar the Omniscient is the quintessential healer of the game. Granted, he has abilities that allow him to deal damage. He does have a single ability that allows him to summon droids and then detonate them in times of dire need. He also has an ability you can potentially take with you that allows you to turn your healing bot into a damage dealing bot. But that's about it. There's nothing else you can do. Your primary attack is not a primary attack at all. It's a healing ability. It's a healing beam that heals everything in its path. That's how healing oriented he is. There are many other characters, as in most games, that can also do healing, but they tend to be a little more damage oriented. They have abilities that allow to restore the health of their teammates. They have abilities that work very well in conjunction with other heroes, so they can play as supports, as they are ordinarily called, but they don't have to merely resort to healing their teammates and hoping for the best. They can do things of their own accord, and they can usually make plays. With Voltar the Omniscient, that's not necessarily the case. Once again, it's one of those characters that are extremely heavily focused in the direction of actually healing and having everyone else deal with the opponents. Hopefully I've managed to get that point across relatively well. The main responsibility of Boltout is healing his teammates and herding bots. Herding bots, of course, means following the bots and healing them as well. Now for the second piece of the puzzle, I will be playing the overwhelming majority of this match alone, solo, by myself, only accompanied by two bots. Yes, a guy does connect at some point, picking Vinny and Spike fresh off the presses at that point in time, and then disconnects never to come back again. He's not of much help, he does not stay long, and there is a good reason why nobody else connects after he goes away. That's because after a particular point in the match is reached, people can no longer hot swap in, they can no longer just jump into the match. The designers figured it would be unfair to put people in unwinnable spots, and thus they leave you stranded with no hope of receiving reinforcements ever. By this point in the match, the first tier turret has already fallen, and if you know anything about how the AI Station 1-1 used to be played, then you know what, never mind. Sheesh, they call small reference pools. Anyway, on old AI Station 1-1, which is this map, the first team to take down the first tier turret usually was the team to win. It was a huge swing in momentum, it opened up a huge portion of the map to them, allowed them to attack from two angles, and left the other team still struggling to take down the enemy tier 1 turret, which was in an inconvenient spot, a lot easier to defend than to attack from that point. In other words, I am up a particular creek and I do not possess the wooden paddle necessary to progress. To make matters worse, the first talent I picked at the very start of the match was a tempo swing talent. The sort of talent that becomes essentially useless once you acquire everything you possibly can, once you get all the upgrades, and that is meant to give you a swing. That is meant to give you more solar so that you can quicker buy more abilities than your opponents can, thereby gaining the advantage for a brief time. That window of opportunity did not open up, that snowball did not start rolling down the hill, and now the enemies are besieging our core. Here is my beloved teammate who has briefly connected, as I have previously mentioned. He is about to disconnect, leaving me stranded. There he goes, and with him all my hopes and dreams of ever winning this match. Or is that the case? I've been doing an admirable job body blocking the enemy bots, but I'll have to do better than that in order to stop the onslaught that is currently destroying our core. There goes Boltout, played by a human opponent, mind you, who just decided to siege up right over there, and did not expect me, of all people, to dispose of him. Here goes an enemy bot, because this is a 1v2 at this juncture, and it will remain a 1v2 for the rest of the match, because the tier 2 turret has fallen, which is precisely the point in the match after which you no longer can get reinforcements. Now, I'm not out of the proverbial woods yet. Far from it. In fact, as you can clearly see, the bots will besieging my very call. Also, I only have a single turret left, and that's the tier 2 bottom turret, which allows for easy access to my base and an easy escape from my base via the downward route. Also, forgive the ambiguity when I refer to bots. Instead of the context, it means the AI playing the Awesomenauts, and in some contexts it just means the stuff going down lanes, which I should refer to as droids. Anyway, I hope you get the picture. Surprisingly enough, miraculously you might say, we are actually destroying the tier 1 turret of our opponents. And I say we, but it's mostly me and the 2 bots that are on my side. We have just taken it down. Of course, herding the bots helps tremendously, as long as there are no knots standing in my way, the actual players or the single bot, the actual bot, then it's quite trivial to keep healing the bots and keep pushing the lane. I expected them to be more attentive, but they were not. The loss. Here you can see a sieged up Voltar. As long as he gets hit by the explosion, I can finish him off with my drones. Down he goes. Getting the killing spree music is the most glorious experience I associate with this game. You could argue that amazing things happen in terms of gameplay, and that's absolutely true, but they usually come with kills, and those kills get punctuated by the music. So these things work in parallel. This is the artistic equivalent of doing well. It is a sign of that. It is the audio pat on the back. Still, as you can clearly see, as glorious as the music is, as epic as everything sounds, our base was getting assaulted. Thankfully, I was able to manage that before it got too serious. But they've already dealt about a third of the damage they needed to win the game. And this does not regenerate. This is permanent damage. If I want to bounce back from such a deficit, I will have to make some aggressive moves myself. After all, sitting back and waiting for the enemies is not going to give me a victory. Not at any point. It just delays the inevitable. I'm going to have to get in there and push. Deal damage to the enemy's core. But by this point we have not even defeated the tier 2 turret. So we will have to do that first. The enemy team is split up. Lone Star is over here by his lonesome. However, that is not meant to last. I don't know what the plan is. With me wielding the power of sustained healing, all they need to do is rush us down. They need to go in and deal burst damage in order to kill us. They're not doing that, however. They're avoiding us. They seem to be intimidated by our presence. For the most part, they are carefully navigating all of this in order to try and get to us. They're not even chasing me down. Even though I'm the weakest link, I am the healer that really has the lowest damage potential out of the entire team. And, might I add, I am the only human player on the red team. Despite all of that, despite the tremendous disadvantage I have, somehow we have managed to break through. We have destroyed the upper tier 2 turret and have managed to push some droids into the enemy base. And now I'm chasing down the bot, ending its life with a well-timed explosion. I am not really intimidated by Delpo in siege mode, especially since he's so low on health. I toss some damage his way, but he decides to retreat. Wisely so. I could have forced the issue. I could have cuddled up to him and allowed my little floating orbs to dish out the damage they can deal, detonating them only at the last possible moment, at which point they would home onto his position and presumably end his life. But of course depends on him unsieging late and ultimately trying to take me down unsuccessfully, which wouldn't have necessarily happened. For all I know, he could have unleashed a nuke upon me, and coupled with all the bullets he could have shot my way, it's possible that he would have whittled me down onto such a low health that I would just die. making the plan possibly not as feasible as it may initially appear. Oh well. I know that I could have taken more risks, hoping for a better reward. I'm not necessarily sure it would have been the right play, and I understand that in the past I probably was all too cognizant of the risks that would involve, and thus was unwilling to take them, especially considering the circumstances I was in. Here comes the nuke. As soon as I wait that one out, I can absolutely approach the pole and safely try to finish him off. It's not going to be trivial. I almost dished out enough damage to take him out. Not quite. Of course, the right move would have been to cuddle up to him for a tiny bit under that enemy tower. And then, and only then, to detonate the tiny orbs. But who has the nerves of steel to tower dive and stay there as the dedicated healer and not use the only offensive ability they have in order to try and close things out as quickly as possible with all the damage coming in from the bullets he's shooting, from the bullets the turret is shooting. That's all in the past now. 6 kills in a row. He was sieged up too far ahead, and we are dishing out damage to the enemy's drill. Victory is at hand. Victory is in sight. No, no, don't go back, Clunk, but no, don't go back. No. Victory was within reach, but apparently we are falling back. Even though we had the momentum, we had everything going for us. Delpo was down, so he couldn't have possibly nuked us. And I would have absolutely been able to sustain everyone through everything else, because they had no burst damage capable of killing us outright. Or rather, killing us faster than I would heal. But no, apparently Clunkbot figured it was time to go back to base, possibly buy something. Here comes the nuke. Clunkbot eats it like a champ. Chump. I try to heal him to prevent him from going back yet again, because that's not what we should do here. We should absolutely try and perform some offensive maneuvers. Perhaps I should have stayed within the heal bot's range. Or perhaps I should have floated some more instead of falling onto that step. Either way, this is the first time I go down, and predictably enough, that lends the initiative swiftly into the hands of my opponents. If I were in their shoes, I'd make a mad dash for the red base, which is precisely what is happening. I need to get there quickly enough. Leon is dead, Clunkbot hopefully is alive and trying to defend. Let me remind you, once again, that I am playing Voltar. I am not necessarily the character best suited towards defending my own base against possible threats. Apparently the enemy team gets intimidated all too easily, which is the only reason I can find for Lone Star actually retreating in those circumstances. It's not like he actually would have died to Voltar dishing out damage. There's a much better chance of him killing me. Anyway, I am desperately trying to keep my bots alive, because they are the only thing keeping the base alive. Thankfully, they managed to score a kill on the enemy team's bot. Speaking of bots, I'm upgrading my heal bot. Miraculously enough, we have managed to weather the storm. The enemy team has decided to bugger off, the bot has died, and now we are busy unpushing and possibly making yet another move? Could we bring this home, so to speak? Unfortunately, Leon is going back to base. Luckily though, the Stelpo sieged up here. I detonate all of my orbs onto him and eventually take him down. As much as I would love to stay and push, I have to go back. to try and posture a bit to get them off our drill. Our drill is almost entirely gone by this point. They do have the cold health advantage, as well as the general advantage they have had throughout the entire match. However, we managed to take down the bot? No? No, he just gets away. And as much as I try to make my way towards my own base, Lone Star was the first. He takes what little that was left of the Cole's health down and wins them the match. Here comes the flattery that originally prompted me to keep this recording as a memento. There it is, in all of its glory. I've lost in the end, but I do believe I put up a good fight as Voltar. Thanks for watching, and you will see me elsewhere.